This is the Flask, the Bart Simpson's version, issue 29, the first issue on his series, written by William Tellner Overture. I wasn't actually going to review this one. I was going to review issue 51, which has a surprise guest appearance by retro artist Simon Waltonson. I cannot find my copies of issues 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, and I think it's 57. The one with the composite Superboy. Superboy mixed with Robert. That one. Thinking about it now, they might be in my General DC Universe long box, whereas this was in my Tiny Titans long box. Yeah, my long boxes are like that. Confusing to anyone but me. I like this series, and I like that it has a voice and a tone, and it is something that isn't trying to be another deadly serious ego trip, or another edgelord power fantasy crossover event. This is a book aimed at younger readers, but not to the extremes of alienating, and not being also aimed at a wider audience. You've got Bart Simpson's. He is an immature brat with a short attention span, and the book perfectly captures that. The art is cartoony. Some people will hate it for that. But this is a cartoon character, really. A cartoon character in a comic book, and I think it works. It is a very nice feeling book. You know, Bart Simpson's isn't going to do a plot about finding discarded AIDS needles, or his girlfriend getting an abortion. It's very light-hearted and goofy. Well, that's not to say it's totally kiddie and juvenile. Before this issue, Martin Quaid wrote this series. He co-created this character, and I didn't recommend his issues. There's not much worse than Martin Quaid trying to write kid-friendly comedy and trying to appeal to kids. The amusing thing is that this series has the reverse order of the writers of the Flask's main series. On the Flask, it had William Tellner Overture as a writer first, and then Martin Quaid took over. And on this, it's the reverse. Isn't that amusing? One thing I am conscious of is that people might start to think that I didn't read these comics, because what I talk about is very broad things. I didn't get very specific sometimes. I like to note things to talk about. Like here, I could talk about Quicksilver and how I think he is a worthless character. But I want to clarify, I do read every comic that I review. The only one I didn't read was maybe one of the issues of Phineas the End, because I know that series back to front. I'm sure I did read it anyway, but that has been on my mind every time I review an issue of that. I always think to myself, oh, I didn't have to read this one, but I read it anyway. Set up for Bart Simpson's is that he is under the care of the Goldie Age hero, Quicksilver. My thoughts on Quicksilver are he is a redundant character. Martin Quaid introduced them, or reintroduced them, to be his character rather than use the Flask with a funny art. Quicksilver is fine in this role as Bart Simpson's legal guardian, but every other thing with him is mirrored with the Flask with a funny art. Even this parental thing, they eventually make the Flask with a funny art and his wife without a funny art. They make them the legal guardians of Bart Simpson's. This is a good jumping on point. This is a first issue in a run. It doesn't dive straight into any ongoing thing. It is a nice sampler, a nice setup issue. Bart Simpson's gets into a skirmish with some guys dumping toxic waste. And meanwhile, we have stuff with Quicksilver and his daughter Ellen. And Quicksilver got a letter in the post and ran off after reading it. And even though I have established this as a very kid-friendly book, we have a gang of jabronis shooting guns at Bart Simpson's. And we have some classic comic book internal superhero conflict where the hero has to decide what the best course of action is. And for a kid's book, this is great. It would help instill a sense of responsibility and consideration of others and the environment around you into the younger readers. It's just totally a book that you can give to an 8-year-old without any concern for appropriateness. It is perfectly realised in that regard. I think it is the perfect comic for a kid. It is a character they would relate to or enjoy reading about. And any morals or any lessons, they are handled with subtlety rather than being an obvious preachy lecture that they will be bored by. Here, his friends almost get shot. So it's not like it's dumbed everything down or given the bad guys guns that fire waffles. There's seriousness to it. And the idea is that this makes Bart Simpson's stand out even more because he's so hyperactive and wacky. It's the odd Dead Pills paradigm. Dead Pills is a funny character. He is a comedy character. But the comedy comes from placing Dead Pills, this outlandish, wacky character. You place that guy into situations that are not comedic or funny. That is where the comedy comes from. When you do stories with Dead Pills running away from his life to live at sea and become a pirate, Dead Pills just becomes unfunny. I date up on that Dead Pills becomes a pirate story a lot. I realise that. There is a lot of depth to Bart Simpson's character. He has real emotions and real worries and real pain. Here, he feels like he has failed because his friends almost got shot. And down here, this is an ongoing thing, a running visual gag in the series. They would show Bart Simpson's thought bubbles, and it would be a picture instead of words. Cute stuff. And Bart Simpson's, he knows that he is going to get told off by Quicksilver when he gets home. So he wishes to himself that Quicksilver wasn't there, that Quicksilver wasn't around anymore. And when he does get home, he finds that his wish has come true because Quicksilver has left. He vanished after reading that letter. To be continued next issue. And a lot of people will write off this book because they didn't like the art, or they didn't like the tone, or they think it's too immature, or whatever. But what I want from comics is variety. This is variety. This is something different on the shelves. Does it appeal to absolutely everyone? Of course not. No comic does, but it tries. This appeals to a specific audience very well, but it doesn't exclude any other reader in the process. I consider this a success in many ways, even if it didn't quite meet most of the audience that it would have been perfect for. I'll give it 7 thumbs up.